Hello and welcome. We begin with developments from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where a deadly attack linked to the Islamic State has killed dozens. An ISIS-linked rebel group stormed a Catholic church over the weekend as worshippers gathered for prayers. At least 43 people have been killed in the attack. Now, the attack took place in Kampala, a town in the northeastern DRC's Ituri province, ending a rare period of regional calm in the area. The attack has been claimed by the Allied Democratic Forces, or the ADF, a group that has pledged allegiance to the Islamic State. Formed in the 1990s as an anti-government rebel group in Uganda, the ADF later shifted base to eastern DRC. It formally aligned with ISIS in 2019. Driven out of Uganda by military pressure, the group now operates in Ituri and North Kivu, launching deadly cross-border attacks on civilians. In 2021, Uganda and the DRC launched a joint operation called Shuja to dislodge the ADF from its strongholds. Now, despite this, the group remains resilient. This weekend's attack is the deadliest since February, when 23 civilians were killed in a similar assault. While Ugandan and Congolese forces remained united against the ADF, Uganda's broader role in eastern DRC continues to draw criticism. Kampala stands accused of backing certain other militias to gain access to the DRC's minerals. Among those militias is the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels, who have waged a bloody insurgency in the DRC's mineral-rich east. Though a United Nations report has flagged Ugandan ties to other rebel groups, Kampala denies supporting the M23 or any other armed group. Still, many in the DRC, including lawmakers and civil society groups, accuse Kampala of undermining Congolese sovereignty. In recent weeks, Ugandan troops claimed to have DRC towns in order to prevent ethnic clashes. And in the latest, the army claims to have captured the town of Jugu, a stronghold of Codeco, a powerful ethnic militia operating in Ituri. Now, Codeco, which originated as a farmers' cooperative, has morphed into a brutal armed group involved in ethnic violence, mainly targeting a rival community in a fight over land and resources. Uganda's capture comes shortly after its army said that it had destroyed a base belonging to another group that was responsible for the killing of dozens of school children in Uganda's west. Now, Uganda also claims to have taken control of the Congolese towns of Kasenyi and Chomia, justifying the move as preemptive measure to prevent ethnic clashes. However, these captures expand Uganda's military footprint in the DRC, raising fresh concerns about Kampala's true intentions. Is this counterterrorism or a push for regional influence and economic gain? The debate remains even as terrorist attacks continue and civilians pay the price. Now, for more on this story, we have with us Vincent Roger, the head of Political Risk for Africa, Control Risks, joining us live from London. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Alyson. Thanks for having me.
Now, Vincent, what does the recent ADF attack on the Catholic Church in Kampala, which ended a months-long lull in violence, suggest about the current threat level posed by the group and its operational capacity in the northeastern parts of the DRC?
Well, the church massacre shows us that the ADF still retains enough operational reach to hit symbolic civilian targets. And I think, while over the last few months, a lot of the attention has been on M23, as you alluded to, the group still has been active. And the Congolese and Ugandan joint military operation, Shuja, has had relative success in decimating the ADF leadership and combatants, but it hasn't curbed violence against civilians. And in fact, what we tend to see often is that when military operations step up, as we've seen over the last few weeks, then the ADF also steps up its own retaliation against civilians, typically by targeting churches, but also defenseless villages. And so we are at the moment in another of these cyclical peaks in violence. There was one in January, February this year, another one in July, because fundamentally the ADF is a highly mobile group. And so it's very difficult to sustainably weaken the group and prevent this kind of attack.
Okay. And with Uganda's People's Defense Forces recently claiming the capture of a major Codeco stronghold in Ituri, what tangible impact can we expect this to have on curbing atrocities in the region, especially given the group's history of repeated ethnic killings?
So capturing a Codeco stronghold is a tactical win. It's also a PR win for the Ugandan military, but it doesn't necessarily mean the group's threat is neutralized. And why is that? Is because Codeco is not a single chain of command. It's loosely affiliated militias. Many of them are quite autonomous from each other. They're operating not necessarily with a very strong kind of umbrella command. And the history of this region shows, unfortunately, that when strongholds get captured, what it tends to do is disperse combatants, and sometimes that actually increases the threat to civilian elsewhere, because you have a bit of hit-and-run violence, or you have reprisal attacks, as we're just talking about in the case of the ADF. And so without follow-on protection plans, you're potentially just risking shifting the geography of attacks, but not really addressing the root causes of the problem if you take a military-only approach like what we're seeing now. So what you really need in these situations is not just the military win of recapturing a stronghold, but the effort that comes next to hold the territory, to invest in dialogue and in the restoration of state authority and public services in these areas.
Yes. And Vincent, given the overlapping presence of armed groups like the ADF and Codeco in Ituri province, how are regional and international peacekeeping efforts, such as the UN mission, coordinating responses to ensure the protection of civilians, particularly in places of worship and in schools?
I think the short answer is they're not really coordinating. There isn't a single unified command. You've got MONUSCO, the UN peacekeeping force. It has a footprint in Ituri, but its troop numbers have shrunk, and it's constrained in how mobile it can be, especially in quite rural or forested areas. And then you've got the Congolese army with its own coordination challenges, even internally. And then foreign forces, in particularly Uganda's UPDF, all operating in parallel. We're not talking of a proper joint, sharing or coordination of forces, and that is part of the problem, really, when we look at this crisis.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being with us on the show, Vincent.
Thank you, Alyson.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
$36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion kakaljo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
$4 idioma.
Portuguese,
Por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select the language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.